This video is sponsored by Wing Technology, your ultimate flight sim hardware solution.
Hello everyone, we hope you're all doing wonderfully well. Today we've got the fourth video in a series that we're doing, which is ACM/dogfight comparison video. Today we're comparing the F-5E versus the Mig-21bis, two absolute giants. Both of these around the world, the original airframes are still in service, and I wouldn't be surprised if they see the Raptor out. They're really, really well used, the Kalashnikov of fighters. So guys, here's what we're going to do today. First, we're going to look at the kinematics of these two. Secondly, we're going to do our predictions. Thirdly, we're going to go and run the dogfights. And fourth, we're going to summarise which is the best dogfighter. As ever, we will run 20 dogfights, half guns, half Fox 2s. The pilots we'll have flying in them will be Penguin, Pilotus, Le Crep, Kingston, Tell, Apollo. Say hello, boys.
Hello, boys. Hello.
Also got to bear with us today, controlling things. To keep things fair, as usual, we will make sure that each pilot spends an equal amount of time in each aircraft so that there's no bias, or we at least take as much bias out of this as we can and make it as objective as we can. As you can see, the results are blacked out and I can't see them yet. So, guys, first of all, kinematics. Low altitude speed. Mig-21 with special afterburner mode can manage 741 knots true speed. That's Mach 1.12 where it flames out. F-5E a little behind that, 684 true speed with Mach 1.03. Next, high altitude sustained speed. We've got the Mig-21 around 50,000 feet. 1250 knots true speed, Mach 2.18, and the F5 unfortunately was so slow it didn't even register on the table, but I'm going to guess about Mach 1.5, 1.6 or something like that. Low altitude acceleration 300 to 650 knots true. Mig-21 24.09 seconds, F-5E 31.13 seconds. That's 7 seconds difference in acceleration at low altitude. That is massive. I'm guessing power to weight ratio, but it may have other factors as well. Next, high altitude 15k acceleration 300 to 650 knots true. It crawls a bit back here. The Mig-21 struggles at 43 seconds and the F5 is at 45 seconds, but still behind. So the F5 has lost everything so far. Things may change. Climb rate from static to 20,000 feet. Mig-21 with special afterburner mode, 1 minute and 52 seconds. That's relatively slow compared with kind of modern fighters. F-5E, 2 minutes and 35. Absolutely dismal. Climb rate from a fast start, 600 knots, 20,000 feet. Mig-21, special afterburner mode, 29.4. F-5E, 30. As near as damn it, the same. Max astern turn rate, incredibly important for the test we're about to run. F-5E and Mig-21 at slightly different bands can both achieve, in my measurements, 14 degrees per second. That is drag index equals 0 and 50% gas at low level. Max sustained angle of attack. Now this is a real biggie, again, for what you're doing today. How much angle of attack can you sustain in a turn without the wings wiggling and the thing dropping out? F-5E all the way down at 170 knots CAS, which is a really useful speed to be able to maintain a high nose. It's 18 degrees. That's actually not too bad. That's approaching some of the big fighters. Mig-21 is pretty horrifying at 220 optimal at 13 degrees. Anything higher than that and your wings will just go. Sustained altitude, service ceiling, absolutely wingless, but 55,000 in the Mig-21 and it didn't even register in the F5. Roll rate, very important in a dogfight. 300 knots TAS at pretty much sea level. Mig-21bis, 184 degrees per second. That's pretty decent. F5, pretty terrible, 130. This is with the limiter turned off, so there is no limiter on this. March up to 600 knots at sea level. The Mig-21 is 247, which is really good, almost Mirage ability there. F-5E is 209, which is pretty good. And finally, aileron with the rudder at 450 knots. Mig-21, 251 degrees per second. Really, really good. F-5E, 223. It's pretty decent. Okay, guys, those are the kinematics. The Mig-21 wins most of them, but a couple of really important ones, like the angle of attack sustained, does favour the F5. So overall, I would say the Mig-21 is favoured, but these are pretty basic kinematics. And as we all know so far, and the ones we've done, it doesn't mean that the plane's going to be better. Next, guys, let's talk about from what you guys know of the plane, and these planes have been out for years, so you know them very well. Tell me about your predictions in terms of what you're going to have to do to beat your opponent, either from the F5 or from the Mig-21's point of view.
In the F5, you need to absolutely keep your speed. It's a very agile aircraft, but you absolutely need to be around or above 300 knots. at least to me, the major thing to win in it. And for the Mig-21, play with your speed and avoid wing wiggle at all time, at all cost.
I would say the main challenge in the F5 is to keep your speed high, since it has so little thrust to weight ratio, which means that basically do not force your turns, because then you will bleed a lot of speed, and you will never really recover from that, since then you have to go in a straight line, and that's what the 21 wants.
Flip that on the other side. The Mig-21 probably wants to get high, where it probably can with its large engine, and the F5 is going to struggle to get up there and struggle to keep its speed if it's going to have to point its nose up. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is.
So we're probably going to see lots of dogfights of that Mig-21 going in fast, getting up high, and the F5 trying to struggle to get its nose up. That should be interesting to see how that goes. Okay, guys, any following things before we kick off with fight number 1?
We stuck with a 400 to 450 knots merge speed. That's 740 kilometers per hour. It's guns first.
got Penguin, MiG-21. We've got Tail, F-5. Tail is where is E just supersonic, and Penguin just subsonic. Much more kinetic energy in the F-5 at the moment. So he knows he's going to need every joule of that energy. MiG-21's doing exactly what we thought it might do, go up and over the top. Remember, this is guns only, so they don't have to worry about silhouetting against the sky for Fox 2s. Tail's going around the side, which makes a lot of sense. It's gonna help him keep his energy. He's got 4,000, while MiG-21's down to 3,000, but he's got a much more powerful engine. Amazing turn from Tail there. Turn rate and radius is really on the F-5 side there.
Yeah. The C-21's engine is, it's huge. It's so powerful.
And it looks like Tail's refusing. I think Tail can see him, but is refusing to put his nose up because he knows he's going to get suckered into going down to 200 knots, which he really doesn't want. So he's trying to get speed up by the looks of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing. Like, best case scenario, the MiG makes a level turn, and I have much better turning radius. So but especially with like these vertical maneuvers, it's very hard to like follow in the F5. It's a very big limit.
Roger. So you're deliberately waiting for him to come down, is that right, rather than chasing him up?
Yeah, mainly. But yeah, sometimes I get a bit greedy and try to follow him up.
It's hard, isn't it? So you're getting down to your sub 300 now. So he's going to carefully play with that, because it's like I said, it's very hard. All he can do to get that speed back is put his nose down, at which point he could easily become a sitting duck. So being patient. And what's Penguin's thoughts at the moment?
The thing I noticed through flying it is you mainly try to extend a lot more in the MiG-21.
Yeah.
Because it can, well, people seem to class it as like a zoom and boom sort of fighter, but you can do ACM in it, but it's very much more suited to just doing that sort of quick get in, get out sort of attacks. But I'm just trying to keep nice and high, keep the energy up, and pull him up to me basically. Get him into a bad spot.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, we might get a head on here, maybe. Vectors are coming around. That's anyone's game. No one can get the solution. Remember, we're high. We're 22,000 feet. These, well, no fighters really perform well up here, but definitely not these two with their stubby little wings. Tails got
the wings. The wings are only there to separate the nav lights.
Yeah, pretty much. Carry the pitiful ordnance. So both guys being patient at the moment. No one snapped their nose, which is what, kind of a new guy would do, like me, just snap his nose up, try and get a shot, and then that's it. I would just be a piece of paper flapping down with the wind at that point. They've both got on the nose on nose, and we always say it's a 50-50. Guns is a 50-50 equation when you get a nose on like this, whether you hit or not, especially in these planes because you haven't got any kind of tracking. Well, I suppose you got. Does the F-5 radar guns tracking work head on?
I'm not certain, but yeah, I'm like usually using the Mach 1 eyeball because I like prefer that much more.
Yep.
The like gun tracking, it's quite antiquated in the F5.
Roger. Yeah. Well, they had a shot. I don't think we had any strikes. MiG-21's trading and going down. Interestingly, Tail staying high this time, but he's kept his speed or just about. He's got plenty of potential energy, so he can trade that in for speed if he needs it. And the baddie's down here. He's going to do that right now. The Penguin's getting a little slow. And I reckon... No. So just kind of neutralise each other out. Neither can get a solution.
Now we will probably see the F5 struggle a bit since it has traded a lot of altitude in that dive against the target. Which means that it has lost a lot of potential energy, and it will probably have like quite a hard time to like regain energy because of the low thrust to weight ratio.
Roger. To be honest, both seem to be struggling a bit. You're both down at 0.4 Mach. Into vertical scissors. Half vertical, half lateral, or maybe not. Penguin is extending, so what are you thinking here? Just want to avoid the scissors?
Not.
It would be the optimal situation to like avoid it, especially the vertical ones, because then I'm totally toast.
So as Penguin's doing what you can't do, he's going up, and you can't really do that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if I know myself right, I will try to attempt to like try to chase him shortly.
So I think we're going back into vertical scissors one way or another. Both of you down at 0.3 Mach to 0.4. No one can get a solution. And the good thing about scissors is the guy who goes slowest usually has the advantage, and Tail, by going so slow there, has actually allowed Penguin to extend, and that's going to give him a chance to get in his 6, which is nice. Almost in gunnery range.
Just the main issue is my speed right now, as you see.
Yeah.
I can like barely regain speed at all at this moment.
Roger. I think Penguin saw that you were coming on the 6 and just, you know, stood it on it, lit the burner and stood it on its end.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm trying to take it more of a vertical fight than a distance in terms of how it's working.
Good shot, but no dice. If you ever want to explain to someone how vertical scissors works, you've got just the perfect scissors going on here. Perfect rolling scissors. It's lovely. And Tail went right down to 90 knots there, I think. Again, it can be useful in scissors because it's going to force the other guy out in front of you. Penguin's going to respond presumably by getting the burner on and going up again.
Especially in a missile fight, this situation would be very, very advantageous for me.
Right.
Since I could probably pull a bit high alpha and just launch a missile at him while he's slow.
Okay, I think Tail's going to exit here. I think Tail's fed up of the scissors. I think he's going to exit, or I don't think he's going for the bait. Which is good.
I am a hungry man, you know.
It may leave your 6 open, though, is the only thing. Let's see how this goes. So Tail's going high now and taking the lead. Like Tail said, they don't have to worry about the other guy having a missile shot. They've got to be able to get a good gunshot. And you really do need a good gunshot with these planes, obviously. You've got no decent aiming, you've got no decent sights, no modern sights. So you've got to get either a lucky shot or a proper solution from the rear.
And yeah, now the 21 has the advantage, I would say, since he's on my 6, and yeah, I can barely regain any type of energy without getting him even more on my 6 o'clock, and I'm very slow.
So he's got a beautiful solution here, and he's going to go into lag pursuit with his bore sight behind, now putting it in front, now behind again, and very hard for Tail to get out of this now. So Tail, what are you thinking now? Just get airspeed and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, right now I'm trying which I personally call a F-5 Cobra maneuver, which is full left, full right rudder. Trying to like make him overshoot.
Yeah. So
as we dive down, but he gets the shot.
Right. So that's one of the ways of getting away. If you're in the front, you can force the rear guy to overshoot by slowing down quickly enough. However, if this guy's a good shot, he can always get a snapshot and kill you, which is what we got here. And we've got a really good shot. I could never make that shot without an M61 or something.
I'm very surprised to hit that.
Yeah, otherwise you would have been in trouble because he would have put his burner on and chased you down. But great match, guys. It was a long one, but sometimes the long ones are the best ones. Anything on that before we queue up the next one?
Quite a lot of them were very long.
It's hard. These planes are hard. It's hard to kill things in these planes. It's always going to be like that, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, the plane itself wants to kill you as much as you want to kill the other one, so...
Absolutely.
Sometimes
Yeah, exactly. That's like especially the case in the 21. It's a very unforgiving aircraft.
The best words that came out over the Discord last night while the fights were going on were, "How do I restart the engine in the MiG again?"
Yeah, that happens.
That was from me, Jesus Christ.
You got to be so careful. To be honest, I mean, that's a really good point you picked up there. We all know the MiG-21 can't do -3 or more G or whatever it is because the engine quits. So that's something you could use in the F5, which doesn't have that problem, to force him into a position where he's going to have to roll, and you can cut some, there's something to think about, isn't it? Okay, guns only again. Pilotus is MiG-21, this time the Crep. F5, send. Off they go.
Yeah, I'm a bit fast on this one.
Where are you? You're just about Mach.
Blue.
Oh, you're blue. You're just supersonic. Again, like we said before, though, you've got to bank everything you can up with these jets because they'll burn through them and you won't get that speed back.
Yeah.
So, it's not that bad. MiG's going up, straight up. The F5's going half lateral, half vertical. Kind of exactly as we all predicted so far. It's maintained 280, 270 knots, which is great. And that F5 cannot get its nose up there.
No, I wanted. I turned a bit too hard, so my speed is already down.
Not sure. You're going to get head on, though, so it's a 50-50 withdrawing.
Yeah.
Anyone could win this. Oh, he had you. Yeah.
Yeah, he had me. But
Right.
It was a lucky shot, so I just pulled at the last second and got him.
Yeah.
Right.
The gun from the 21 is shredding. It's a big one. You don't need a lot of bullets, and it's a good thing because you don't have a lot. So
Gotcha. So we've got to this point here. We're equal. We're the same speed. That one's slightly higher. That one's slightly lower. And we always say it's a 50-50 in this case. Even a good pilot versus a crap pilot. A crap pilot could easily get a lucky shot on a good pilot in this situation. So it's a great shot. The only real difference is if you hadn't killed each other, which is much more likely, because it's very easy to miss, then the MiG would have been on the downward leg and would have got his speed back very quickly. But Crep was probably on his way to a stall, wasn't he, up there?
not on a stone, but not too far from it. Yeah.
Okay.
At the merge, I was 200 maybe, something like that. So yeah,
okay.
would have ended in a falling sizer. But
anything before we move on to number 3, guys?
This basically shows the big difference a bit between the F5 and the 21. For example, speed right now, 21 higher up, easier to maneuver as it's coming down on the target compared to a La Crep who's still climbing.
Roger.
That's all.
And we're very hot. We're at 27,000 feet here. This is really high for these planes to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely not the optimal fighting area for the older aircrafts.
Okay, guys. Fight 3, Pilotus F5, Penguin Mig-21, Penguin 0.93 Mach. Pilotus really slow in the F5, 0.7. Is there any reason for that? Is it the change in tactics for Fox 2s or?
Actually, I don't remember.
Roger. I mean, there will be big changes here, but the tactics they're going to use will be different for Fox 2s.
I think it was to make a harder pull at the start and get my nose as quickly as possible.
Is that?
This was the very first Fox 2 fight.
And notice that they're going down instead of up, for the reasons we spoke about. Going up just silhouettes you against the sky, you're a dead man, so they're going down this time. And I think Pilot is saying that he didn't want to be over speeding. He wanted to keep a nice tight, a relatively low speed for a nice tight turn radius here, which can make him much more tactically superior to this guy here when they turn down. Let's see how it works out for them. You can see your turn radius and your turn rate there in degrees per second. And feet, better turn rate from F5, better turn radius as well, both of which you would expect. And you can see it literally paying dividends there. For this turn here, I'm just going to stop it when he gets his ball sight on him. Basically there. So, superior speed, superior pull, superior everything has allowed this F5 to get nose on this guy first. That's not much use in a gunfight, but on a missile fight, that is literally life or death. He's got a few seconds now, or a second maybe, to get that missile lined up. Pop a missile out. Decided not to do it. Decided to go in for guns instead. This is the Fox 2 fight, isn't it, guys?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Was it a conscious decision there to go from missiles to guns, or just couldn't get a missile tone?
I thought he was maybe too close to make a kill, to get a good kill, and didn't want to waste a missile rust there.
Okay, I would say. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because you have to remember one thing is on older planes like the F5 and the 21, missile launch is not instantaneous. You have 2 seconds, around 2 seconds between the moment you press the button and the moment the missile launches. So sometimes you will think you can hit with your missile, but you just won't have time for it to leave the rail. So it's sometimes better not to shoot instead of just losing one, because the F5 only have 2. Well, here both have 2, but in a PvP server or whatever, the F5 can only have 2. So better keep them for a kill shot.
Now that's different to anything we've seen so far in the contemporary fighters. An AIM-9X from a F-16 will fire instantly in a millisecond, won't it? Even at a higher ball sight, whereas these, you need a lot more thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Sidewinders are small missiles, but the F5 has a very light structure, and even just having one missile on one side will
offset the balance of
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
aircraft. Absolutely, it does, and that's like very, very evident in like dogfights if you have only one missile or not.
Roger, guys. Very good. Okay, well, let's carry on. I think Blue's got advantage here, but let's see how it pans out. So Red's going high, which is a sensible thing to do, as we've talked about. And the problem is, going high works brilliant with guns, but it doesn't always work out with missiles, because for the reasons we talked about, Pilotus may get a shot on him here. Maybe not, we'll see. Maybe a bit close. No, so we've cancelled that. We're going to go around again. Definite advantage for the blue, I'm thinking.
Absolutely, considering since it's a missile fight, Blue has the huge advantage right now of like being on his 6 o'clock.
F5 is looking like a much better one circle by the looks of it, because of its radius and rate of turn. It was mainly radius, I suppose.
Was this when we figured out that there were no flares loaded?
Well done.
Yeah.
Yes, it was for the 21. It was missing its flares.
Yeah.
Oh, you need the pod. Yeah, you need the pod.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's on separate pod. And
very difficult on the 21 because I'm trying to extend away from him to try and get that 2 seconds to get a missile off the rail, but I'm also trying to keep it nice and tight as well. And the angle's really harsh, just in case he then ends up getting one off the rail. So it's very, very touch and go between these two.
Roger, I'm thinking, you're in your classic death spiral now. I'm thinking actually when they get down to the ground, I think the MiG-21 might start getting the advantage a bit. Obviously, F-5s can do all this tomfoolery because it's using gravity, but once it runs out of gravity and you're back to just using your engines, I reckon MiG might have an advantage, but we'll see. But they neutralise each other in classic terms at the moment, so... But now they've run out of height, run out of altitude, and that MiG might just bare its teeth now. We shall see.
Right now, I think the MiG is struggling a bit to get the turn going. As you see, he's starting to stall.
Yeah, and
or rather over AOA.
And that's not to say that F5's doing anything wrong. He's doing 15 degrees a second, which is technically better than the plane can do, at least in sustain. So it's turning good. But yeah, MiG's right on the edge of its envelope and going through it. Obviously, its angle of attack, as we've talked, it's at 20 degrees now. And even that's troublesome. 22 on the F5, which can obviously handle a better angle of attack. But I think MiG's just going to power through it now. We've got 16, 17 degrees per second from the MiG, 14 from the Blue, both about the same turn radius, slightly shyer on this. I think it's just going to chew around a circle quicker. 16 degrees per second, 13 degrees per second, angle of attack 22 degrees, 18 degrees. Pilot has decided to ease off. What was the thinking behind that? Just that you're losing the turn fight and needed to change?
I was trying to reverse. Because seeing him getting closer to my 6 o'clock, I was kind of feeling desperate to try something else, and there I think I got shot down. Yeah, and that's the end of it there. That reversal usually is the end of things, especially if you've got that lovely separation of half a mile there. Plenty of time for Penguin to queue up.
And I was surprised by this as well because I thought he was going to carry on because I was really, really struggling in that turn.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been... the natural thing to do is what Pilot has said, which is it's not working, he's gaining angle, try something else. But I've always been told, stick with it. But,
Very dependent on the environment there. Because if you have mountains around and so on, a reversal might be very, very efficient if you have ground to work with.
Roger, yeah, no, absolutely. If there's a valley you can get in, if there's some terrain you can upset the other guy with. And Blue did everything right here. He sent all the flares out. I think he may have even pre-flared. But at the end of the day, he just couldn't hide that relatively hot. And it is a quite hot engine. It's small and weak and puny, but it's a hot engine in that thing. And it just wasn't having any of it. That's that, guys. Cool, fun fight. I thought the Blue had it to the beginning, and then as soon as you guys kind of hit the ground, then Red started coming back, and it was a good kill at the end. Anything you want to add to that?
Basically shows the main weakness of the F5.
Yeah, it does. We'd noticed at that stage that the Meg had the wrong missiles and had no flares, so we dropped the mission, fixed the mission, and put up the fixed track. And that's on the next track that you're going to show.
Roger. I mean, it hasn't even been shot at so far, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Roger. Right, we're going to jump over to the next track for... Okay, so we've got tail in the F5, Mach 1 engine 20, piloters, MiG-21, Mach 1, exactly the same. So everything's equal. I expect to see them go down, but let's see. Fox 2 again, obviously. And emerge. And now this is interesting. We've got something different here from Pilotus. He's certainly not gone up. In fact, they're both going lateral. Opposite ways, lateral. In that lovely S shape. And who's going to turn tighter and quicker? Well, 13 degrees a second, 14 on the MiG-21. Only 11 with tail here. And the radius is also tighter, so... But speed is diminishing quicker on the MiG-21, accordingly. But he's going to get around the circle quicker. Can he sustain it, though? He's down to 10 now, because he's, I guess, running out of speed. Where tail's maintaining 12. So it looks like they're going to make it just about the same in the end, which is, of course, what we show on our kinematics at the beginning. They're basically equal. And it's going to be ball sight on ball sight, exactly the same time. Who can get the missile off first? Who can get the flares better? Who can get their engine spool down quicker?
Here I started to pre-flare because I lost sight of the F5.
Roger.
And then...
That's the kill.
Good shot. Yeah, let's go back to that. Absolute classic. Classic one turn. Really, really nice stuff. And the interesting thing is how equal you were all the way around. It's a shame, almost a shame that you lost visual because you were doing so equal. So you got pre-flares out because we're not sure where it's coming from. Did you see him at this point or just not see him at all?
Not at all until the missile launch.
That's a shame, but that's the way it is. And remember, it is quite bad visibility in the 21, where it's actually really good, I find anyway, in the F5. That's always an advantage as well. So, like I said, first one to get the missile off is pretty much going to probably win the game here. If he had seen, he could have flared, he could have throttled down, he could have barrel rolled, and he may have dodged. They're not the best missiles in the world, I suppose. But otherwise, good, nice clean kill. He did see it in the end there, as you can see, but it's just a bit too late. Not much to say, really, other than the losing visual. It was basically equal. Anything you guys want to add?
Basically, keeping visual in a dogfight is key for success, because otherwise the enemy will kill you 9 out of 10 times.
That MiG-21...
That's the fact.
I mean, the MiG-21 is... Obviously, it's not made for dogfighting, but... if you look up in the MiG-21 where you lift vector, which is where you're going to be looking most of the time in a dogfight, you can't see. There's that massive metal, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That thing up there.
Yeah, basically a mirror backwards it is.
It's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Whereas the F5's clear, you can sit and you can watch all day in your lift vector, which, you know, is what a dogfight is. This guy here has to maneuver, so this guy doesn't go onto his lift vector and he doesn't lose tally, which is horrible. I was doing it today with another guy and I kept losing tally on them.
Yeah, but yeah, one thing as I'm diving down on the enemy, I'm like throttling back to like minimize my like heat signature just in case if he gets a missile off.
So it's like pre-flaring then. It's another measure, premature measure, just to make sure, because it takes time for the engine to spool down, obviously.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Okay, guys, very good. We're going to go on to the last one now. Stand by. So here we go again. We've got the tail in the F5 again, Mach 1.06, and identical Pilotus here in the 21. So let's see what we go with. What are they thinking this time? Have you guys got your plan set out, or are you just good reaction only?
Absolutely, plan set this time around. Basically, my plan is to get the aircraft around as quickly as possible, as you see on my AOA and everything.
Just pause there. So we've done a classic merge and the S again, and again it's going to be the first guy to get around the circle, one circle, quick enough and get that missile off and be ready. Turn rate of 16 degrees per second, turn rate of 14 degrees per second. Both got the same turn radius. Those will change as the pilot manipulates his aft stick as we go around. 13, 14. Massive radius now as Pilotus eases off the backstick. Good constant sub 3000 for Tail. Looks like Tail's going to win this one pretty easily. Just much better afterstick control so far. Although he has got slow. But it is a one-circle fight, so it may pay dividends. Just no, Pilotus just hasn't managed that one. Let's see though. Tail's not really turning very well anymore because he's run out of speed, but he shouldn't need it. Just needs nose on target and a tone now. And he's done it again where Tail's gone, not necessarily up. Well, he's gone up a little bit, 2,000 feet. But this time, Pilotus went down really fast. I wonder if that's why he couldn't turn, because he was worried about G-loadings or something. He was very fast. Either way, this looks like a done deal, because Tail's got time here to get the tone. Pre-flares going out from red. That's a missile out. Is he going to see it this time? He's got the flares out. He's doing the barrel roll. It looks like he's probably going to dupe it. Just a bit unfortunate there. Most of the time, a barrel roll and flares will work. Let's try and figure out why that didn't work. Let's look at because what he wants to be doing is rolling around that green vector there. That's what's going to confuse the missile. Barrel roll around the green vector with the flares coming out. That's what's going to hide your engine.
Did you come off the burner that one, Pilatus?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so he gets his burner. And the aspect, the direction of the roll is wrong. The direction of the roll is running around that vector. So the missiles come in at kind of 60 degrees. So it's not actually hidden his engine. That's probably why it failed there as well.
During the different fights, we could clearly see when the flares would evade, would distract the missiles, and that was coming off the burner. If you stayed on burner, it was going to hit the aircraft. If you came off the burner, there was a good chance it would go for flares.
Roger, guys. That's very important. Okay, that's the fights. Now we're going to go to the summary. So, guns, F-512, Mig-13. So the Mig won the guns, and we could kind of sort of see why that might be possible while we were watching it. Fox 2's, the F-5 won massively. So, before I turn it over to you guys, I would say that in terms of guns, the Mig-21 is just a bit of a better energy fighter, especially when it can drag the F-5 high or drag it down to the ground. But in your Fox 2s, where you go to your one circle fight, where it's turn 180 degrees or 180 degrees, and then fire a shot and win or lose, is the F-5 because it's a better one circle fighter by the look of it. How do you rate my summary, and if so, what's your summary?
I agree with that completely. We did 20 rounds, and 10 of them ended up with either no fuel or a mid-air collision. So fuel was definitely a factor. Half tanks in both aircraft made it difficult for pilots to choose what they wanted to do in terms of maintaining burner or not.
That's real though.
That did definitely.
Yep.
Absolutely, 100%. And then also I ignored ones where it was Fox 2, but they finished them off with guns, and that happened at least twice. That doesn't count as a Fox 2 victory, so they weren't a factor. But your summary is pretty correct, gentlemen. What else do you have to add?
Just like mainly F5, basically easier to like get the missiles off. You have the uncage button and so on. While the 21 has a very, very long missile launch time. I like experienced that at least 2 fights where when I used the 21, it had like 2-second launch time, which meant that you very, very often lost your lock as you had them locked.
I was actually surprised, sort of. I thought the F5 would edge slightly ahead in the guns, and I thought it'd be a bit more even, maybe lean more towards the MiG-21 in terms of Fox 2s. So I was actually sort of surprised by the results of this one.
Yeah, I hoped for the F5 to be a bit better on the gun side. But yeah, the speed of the 21 and his ability to climb, it made it.
On guns, I would say that F5 and MiG-21 are relatively comparable. Maybe I would like the first game I had mid-air collision, but I was on the the winning position. Kind of agree with the results.
They're extremely close. These were the closest matching airframes that we've that we've done far closer than any of the other three different matchups, which definitely made it exciting. I think they would remain very close to each other in terms of just doing many more runs against each other. They would stay close to each other in well balanced close aircraft.
Absolutely, guys. Right, well done for doing that work. Everything you did looked perfect. I don't think that we're going to have any really complaints about that. I think that will look fine. Thank you for that, and we'll see you later.